Okay, so boom. I was chilling at the house last weekend and found myself watching movies back to back, which is pretty rare for me these days. The only movies I watch are the ones I'm reviewing. But one of the movies that I watched that I liked and wanted to talk about was Run, Sweetheart, Run. I didn't have high hopes for this movie at first. I was half-assed watching it, to be honest with you. But 10 minutes in, I was locked in. This movie is wild. I was going through so many emotions while watching it, and by the time it was over, I knew I had to talk about it. Now, this won't be a traditional recap with the final thoughts at the end. More so me just talking about certain things that happened throughout the film and sprinkling in my thoughts throughout. I hope you don't mind. So let's get into this crazy movie, child. So this movie stars Ella Balinska, who you may recognize from the Resident Evil series on Netflix. I hated her character in that one. She also played in Charlie's Angels and the game Forspoken. Her character's name is Cherie. She's a young single mom who currently works as a secretary at a law firm in LA. So when the movie opens, we see Cherie discussing issues she's having with some of her male colleagues with HR. This person might look familiar to you. It's William from Girlfriends. It's so good to see Reggie back in good health and back on TV. But basically, HR dismisses her complaints and pretty much pacifies her with compliments and tells her to pipe down and let them handle it. Better known as, we are sweeping this shit under the rug. We also see a revolving door of secretaries. Pay attention to their faces, by the way. And then we see Cherie in her role as the current secretary. As Cherie's on her way home, her boss calls her because she double booked him with a client and he has the anniversary dinner planned that same night. So to solve this problem, he insists that she take the dinner with the client on his behalf. When she gets home, she starts getting prepared for this dinner and she notices while taking a shower that she started her cycle. Now here is where I'm going to put a warning. This movie focuses on her cycle quite a bit and it plays a part in the overall story. So if you are squeamish about that, this might not be the film for you, but trust me, if you can get over that, it will be worth it. So she goes to this client's home, which for me would have been a red flag because if this is a business dinner, I'm meeting you at the restaurant, not at your home. But she goes to his mansion to meet him. His name is Ethan. He presents himself as this nice, charming guy. He offers her a drink before they leave for the restaurant, a gin and tonic, mostly gin. This is where she notices blood on the floor and realizes it most likely came from her. Now, I would have been hella uncomfortable and self-conscious after this and would have probably canceled this dinner, but she cleaned herself up and kept the night going. So they go to this restaurant and everything is going good until a dog comes up to them and he freaks out.
Dog, control your fucking dog!
Now, even if you are extremely afraid of dogs, that reaction was a complete overreaction. I would have been suspicious right there because that was a lot for a dog. Like, are you okay? You seem a bit wired. Are you high? But also unprofessionally, this business dinner turns into a date at the skating rink. Side note, Ella's face card, perfection. She gets it from her mama, okay? Later, as they make it back to his home, Ethan suggests that she cancel her car and stay with him until the morning, but she refuses at first. But then she decides, why not? And at that moment, I was like, girl, I guess, get your life, but you are on your period. But maybe she was down to get a little creative. Who knows? And this is where it got creepy because when she goes in the house, Ethan turns to us and stops us from going in. So we outside twiddling our thumbs until and this is where I sat straight up. I was like, what's going on? And what the hell are we running from? Cherie runs through this neighborhood while trying to get away, but no one helps her. She finally finds some women and begs them to call 911 for her. The cops don't take her seriously and arrest her for public intoxication, and they place her in a cell with this chick who she avoids at first, but later, as Cherie tells her what happened to her, she realizes that her situation sounds familiar. Ethan did the same thing to her friend who went missing, and she tells Cherie that Ethan controls all men and she needs to find the first lady fast. So sometime after, Ethan arrives at the precinct, and despite Cherie's pleas, the cop lets him into her cell because, reminder, he controls all men. Ethan tells her he will hunt her as a game, and if she survives the night, he'll let her live. So they eventually release her from jail, and as she gets on the street, she notices these random missing posters and all these sketchy ass men walking around, and she starts to realize that all of these men are eyes for Ethan. She catches the taxi to her boss's house, hoping for help, and this is the last place I would have gone. Baby, we are going where the heavy artillery is, you hear me? Who got the weapons? That's where I'd be headed. But her boss, James, initially seems concerned and worried for her, but things get suspicious when we see the way he demands his wife to make tea for Cherie. He kind of talks to her like the help and not his wife. It was weird. Her body language was off. She seemed more nervous than concerned, and there's a reason for this. So after Cherie gets cleaned up, she uses her boss's computer and notices all the special client meetings the secretaries before her attended and didn't return from. And this is where I had a thought. Were these meetings scheduled specifically on the week of their periods? And if they were, how did they even know that kind of information? And you might be wondering why I asked this. So check this out. James' wife comes in, gives her a tampon, and warns her that Ethan can smell her blood and she needs to keep herself clean so that he can't track her. At this point, Cherie knows she's not safe.
I just need you to trust me.
She runs out of James' house and flags down a bus. The driver lets her on and lets her use her phone to call her child's father, Trey. One thing that I noticed in this film is that any woman she came across looked out for her. The women looked out for each other. The bus driver dropped her off at a corner store where she bought a box of tampons using her necklace as payment since she didn't have any money. But when she goes to the restroom to handle her business, she makes a bit of a mess, which attracts Ethan and guides him to her location. Ethan overpowers her, and again, he turns us away from what he does to her. The camera pans to a homeless woman who is terrified and refuses to look at what is happening. The store owner comes out to try and stop him, but he commands him to walk away, and he does just that. Another reminder that he controls all men. Cherie eventually gets away just in time to catch Trey, who had just arrived at the corner store. Trey irked my soul because he asked her 1,000,001 questions, but never bothered to ask her if she was okay. Cherie insists that they go to his house since he has a gun, and he's forced to tell her that her ex-best friend and his current boo lives with him now. Cherie was far too busy trying to survive this night that she could have given two shits about old girl, and this bothered Trey. Now, he wasn't bothered about the mother of his child's safety, how she looked, her overall well-being, none of that. But he was hella bothered that she wasn't bothered about him and who he was with. As they are driving, they hit something that they couldn't see, and he hops out to investigate. And instead of getting right back in the car, he demands that she give him an explanation.
I'm not getting back in this car till you tell me why you've been acting all fucking paranoid.
Trey, I was attacked. He has been chasing me all night. He could still be chasing me now. So will you please just get back in the car?
When they finally make it to Trey's house, Trey goes in to prep Dawn, his current boo, the ex-best friend, and he thought she was gonna fly off the handle. But when she steps out and sees how Cherie looks, she knew she needed help and everything was cool between them. And Trey was shocked.
Ew. No, don't make this about you, okay? Get her some fucking water or something.
This made me realize how different Trey and Dunn reacted to her when they saw her. Trey seemed suspicious and agitated, never asking her was she okay. He was more focused on interrogating her, while Dawn showed compassion despite their rocky past and wanted to make sure she was okay. Anyway, Cherie gets cleaned up again while Trey goes out and gets her some more tampons. She later asked her friend Norland to read her current situation using tarot, and the results were that she was gonna have One hell of a night.
Do you still go to church?
No.
You might want to go back.
There's a knock at the door, and surprise, it was Ethan. He tracked her down yet again, but Dawn and her crew were ready. Or so they thought. They get got pretty fast. Side note, I don't know why, but this scene reminded me of Paranormal Activity, Marked Ones, when they rolled up on that demon house and started blasting. We gotta talk about that film eventually. That's my favorite Paranormal Activity movie. It's just more realistic for obvious reasons. But back to this movie, after obliterating her friends, Ethan decided he had time to charm Cherie before taking her out.
To show off her mind.
Trey pulls up shortly after as Cherie and Ethan are leaving, and again, he doesn't read the room, which results in him getting got as well. At least Norland survived. But it was go time yet again. Cherie runs to this overpass and she remembers that Ethan uses her blood to track her down. So she, trigger warning, she takes her tampon out and throws it on a moving vehicle and hides so she can get away from Ethan. Now, Ethan is on her so tough that even stepping into a church provides zero safety for her. Reminder, Ethan controls all men, even priests. So while in church, Ethan shows his true form to Cherie, which completely terrifies her. She's able to escape when the priest stabs Ethan with a cross, which gives her the opportunity to run. Somehow, she ends up at this club where she's able to clean herself up, and this group of ladies help her out. But unfortunately, they don't get far because Ethan tracks her down yet again after her forehead starts bleeding. And then this dog appears out of nowhere. And in case you forgot, Ethan hates dogs, so he disappears. And this dog, which is a female dog, by the way, leads her to the First Lady. The First Lady collects Cherie's blood in a vial and then drains it into pipes that lead all over the city. Ethan will smell her everywhere and won't be able to track her down. We learn the origins of both Ethan and the First Lady. Ethan was originally sent to Earth to protect and guide humanity, but he wanted men to stay in power at all costs. But currently, the balance of power was shifting, which made Ethan more ruthless. The First Lady was an angel, so this is a battle between angels and demons, basically. The First Lady plans to take him down by using Cherie as bait since Ethan was obsessed with her and wouldn't stop. Cherie wasn't with this at first, but got in line when she learned that Ethan would hit her entire bloodline, which of course included her daughter. So the First Lady prepared her and Cherie lured Ethan to where she was and he came quickly. Child, he knocks her out and ties her up before she even realized what happened. She tricks him into believing she's surrendering to him and exposes him to the light by throwing a rock through one of the windows. The spirit of the victims before her helped her to break the rest of the windows, exposing him to even more light. And finally, it was Ethan's turn to run. Cherie's in control now, and she gives us front row seats to the demise of Ethan.
Your nights of hunting women are over.
The First Lady handles the rest, and Ethan is a goner. After one hell of a night, Cherie makes it home and snuggles with her daughter. How she's gonna explain this to people, I don't know. But I do know she's definitely not going to their job again. How do you go about living life normally after experiencing something like this? I would give everyone the side eye because even if Ethan no longer controls them, you can never forget how the men moved before. Because I would wonder if the guys who willingly help Ethan are naturally violent towards women without Ethan's manipulation. Is it possible to trust anyone after that? And then another thing, she had to deal with all of this while being on her period. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? But yeah, that's the end of the movie. If you want to check this movie out, it's available on Prime. I hope you enjoyed my impromptu commentary on this film. I plan to do this more. My recap vids are never going away, but I do plan on doing more random videos like this and also bringing in other nostalgic content into the mix because it's time to diversify, okay? But anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you this Sunday for our recap of The Hand That Rocked the Cradle. Bye.